real-time view of their lab operations. Instrument management and scheduling tools are often homemade, fragmented, and not particularly dynamic or flexible enough to meet the changing needs of the lab. Troubleshooting can often be arduous and errors aren't really identified quickly, which increases system downtime and, as a result, lab inefficiency. Also, as a result of this, samples often have to be rerun, wasting valuable resources and delaying product to market or shipment of product. In order to ensure the lab runs optimally, scientists and lab managers have to physically be on site a lot of the time, and when they're not, valuable analysis time is lost. We've identified what the lab of the future is and the challenges pushing labs to adopt this approach. Now let's look in a bit more detail at one of the key building blocks of lab of the future, the cloud. As you'll all know, historically, lab software has lived on-premise, which essentially means that the software lives on a server, often as part of a data center. And it can be challenging maintaining these data centers, particularly when it comes to updating software. Whereas software that lives in the cloud essentially lives on the internet, and access to the software is usually subscribed to, otherwise known as software as a service. And access to the most recent version of the software is instant. WatersConnect System Monitoring is Waters' first software product to be deployed via the WatersConnect cloud platform. And there are 5 key benefits that come from a cloud or software as a service based model. Firstly is the connectivity it provides between data and systems. System monitoring provides a holistic view of all chromatography systems on Empower and connects to different data sources to provide a complete picture of your lab operations and efficiency. Also, being connected to the cloud ensures that you have instant access to new incremental features and improvements, as well as important security updates. These are all delivered automatically and seamlessly with minimal system downtime. Also, the cloud infrastructure itself is easily scalable and can flexibly respond to the changing needs of your lab. And the software as a service model also supports a shift from capital expenditure to operational expenditure, which removes the infrastructure burden on the lab. And finally, the cloud encourages collaboration amongst and across teams and departments, as they are more easily able to work together across the same platform and gain a deeper understanding of the day-to-day lab operations in order to make decisions faster. So let's get into the product itself. WatersConnect System Monitoring is a new software product from Waters launched earlier this year, which allows you to monitor your chromatography fleet and optimize your lab operations from anywhere at any time. As I mentioned earlier, labs are always striving to find ways to increase uptime and efficiency, which was the main driver for us in developing this software. By giving you a holistic view of your chromatography systems, you can increase the utilisation of your assets more effectively and reduce resource wastage to truly maximise productivity. Planning of day-to-day work is much easier, and you no longer have to rely on homemade solutions that are often a burden to maintain. Error identification and troubleshooting is faster, ensuring that system uptime is maximised. Moving on to the core functionality of system monitoring, John's going to go into some detail next about the specific features and functionality of system monitoring, and we'll also talk more about what's coming next as we're hosting in the cloud, and that allows us to incrementally deliver new features on a monthly basis. But before I hand over to John, I wanted to give a quick high-level overview of how system monitoring supports your day-to-day work coordination right now. It allows you to find systems that are available for use in the lab much easier and quicker, and it provides detailed information to allow you to make decisions about how you run your day-to-day operations. The software also provides real-time notifications when the status of an instrument changes, so specifically when an instrument, for example, is in error state, and this allows you to react and deal with those errors in a more timely manner. Information can be provided about the type of errors, also enabling ease of troubleshooting and increasing system uptime. You can also obtain detailed asset history information that allows you and others interested in the operations of the lab to really understand more about how and when the systems are being used. From a hardware perspective, the software is vendor agnostic, so you don't only see the information from your Waters LC instruments on mPower, but also any other vendors' chromatography instruments on mPower, which really provides much more of a holistic view of your lab. Multiple versions of mPower are supported, so your systems don't all need to be on the same version. Any system on mPower 3 feature release 4 onwards, so Windows 10 compatible, is supported by system monitoring. It's also instance agnostic, so it can sit above multiple mPower instances, providing that they are compatible with Windows 10 and onwards. Views of the software can be customized by team or lab, depending on the information that's pertinent to a particular group. And finally, but very importantly, system monitoring sits outside of your validated mPower environment. We work with our cloud provider to ensure that the cloud infrastructure and platform is fully secure and in line with best-in-class industry standards, so there's no risk to the integrity or security of your data. Now I'll pass over to John, who's the Principal Consulting Product Manager for System Monitoring. John.
Okay, so Kate has described some of the foundational features of the waters_connect Cloud and System Monitoring, and I wanted to talk a little bit in more detail about the setup. So mPower control systems are connected to System Monitoring, which is an application on the waters_connect Cloud platform. And this connection is via the LACE or acquisition device typically. This connection is enabled by a light installation of the Waters Edge device software on the LACE or the acquisition device. Once the system's onboarded into the secure and isolated tenancy, the real-time monitoring of mPower control system is then possible. We recognize that it's often desirable to view specific groups of instruments together, for example, based upon different physical labs or potentially based upon system type. So we have a flexible construct of teams which allows administrators to both assign systems to specific groups, e.g. Lab A, Lab B, Lab C, and tailor access for users within these teams. Systems and users can be assigned to multiple teams for maximum flexibility and to ensure that views are specific and intuitive. So starting to delve more into the main capabilities of the product now, I wanted to touch on some of the key features. As we've suggested, system monitoring presents real-time data from all mPower controlled chromatography systems. From a water system perspective, we're very excited that with the launch of the new Alliance iS HPLC system, we're able to combine the enhanced intelligence of this instrument with system monitoring and the real-time monitoring and efficiency improvements that it provides. As suggested though, system monitoring has connectivity to all other Waters chromatography systems and chromatography systems from other vendors, which are controlled by mPower. So here you can see the main system monitoring dashboard, which is the typical starting point for day-to-day use. We're shown here systems which have been assigned to the team Lab 1, as indicated in the top right-hand corner of the screenshot. Each card or tile represents an individual system within Lab 1, and the color coding is suggestive of the real-time status of that instrument. The filter chips can be used to narrow down the view more, and for example, clicking on the green running chip here would narrow down the view from 19 overall systems to 5. Furthermore, the search functionality allows for you to identify specific systems, e.g. those with a UV detector or those running a sample set with a specific project study identifier. So earlier, Kate alluded to daily planning and coordination using system monitoring. And as priorities change, this dashboard is the starting point throughout the week. This quickly enables a real-time holistic view of lab system availability with quick identification of available systems, estimated time of sample set completion, filtering based upon system metadata, and views of all systems with issues. This is available without having to walk the lab or remotely accessing systems individually, which can be very time consuming. Additionally, other use cases which current customers of system monitoring are seeing significant benefit from include the use of system monitoring on a large screen within the lab or office to provide another means to monitor the pulse of the lab continuously. So we've just talked about day-to-day planning and coordination of lab work as facilitated by system monitoring. As we all know, occasionally our plans do not play out exactly as we expect, and sometimes the sample set cannot be completed either due to instrument or human error. The dashboard view on the prior slide showed a few systems which were in error. Here we are looking at a more detailed view of a system accessed by clicking on the system tile, which is showing a system in error. Firstly, you can see the additional information about the system, including the name of the acquisition device it is connected to and the modular breakdown of the system with serial number, driver and firmware details. In this example, within the instrument modules table, you can see that the alarm is actually specific to the Acuity FTN module and relates to a missing or wrong plate or vial issue. Obviously, issues with delayed sample set completion or success can have a significant impact on the efficiency and productivity of a lab. Not only does system monitoring display errors in real time in the dashboard view, it's possible to subscribe to be notified of system errors via email. So analysts or lab metrologists, for example, can receive email notifications immediately following an issue to allow any remedial action to occur as quickly as possible. This type of real-time response could often be the difference between meeting a key project deadline or a product shipping target. You will have noticed in the previous slide that within the more detailed system view, there was a recent history timeline which showed the status of that system over the course of the past 7 days. An extension to this type of information is presented within the System History tab, which is shown here. We've heard a lot from you about the challenges in understanding the utilization and performance of systems within your lab. With the System History view, we're specifically looking to support these needs with real context to support more informed insights and decisions. The view that you're seeing here shows system history presented in a timeline and tabular view. It's possible to select the date range, selecting a 7-day or 30-day, for example, view or a custom range. As you can see, for the system, the relative time and percentage in each state is shown. Additional contextual detail is associated with the system events. So, for example, information of errors are presented alongside the detail of the project and sample set when an error occurs. Furthermore, additional detail is captured beyond the project name and sample set, such that it's possible to distinguish between running samples versus, for example, when the monitor function has been selected within Empower. So far, we've talked a lot about capabilities relating to real-time system monitoring, but we also recognize that a more holistic and current view into detailed acquisition device information is extremely useful for Empower administrators and metrologists. An additional partner application alongside system monitoring on the waters_connect Cloud platform is device management. The device management application consolidates detailed information associated with acquisition devices or lace boxes to support troubleshooting and required information gathering. As you can see from the screenshots, it's possible to view all acquisition devices filtered by teams with pertinent information, including Empower version, driver pack details and installed drivers per acquisition device, firmware versions for instrument modules, Windows operating system details, and the last reboot time of acquisition devices. The device management application is another area of continued development focus for Waters, with additional functionality planned throughout the year. One of the common questions we receive is around how we view system monitoring alongside the use of Empower in regulated environments. We've been very deliberate in ensuring that the value in system monitoring as a business tool which supports your Empower ecosystem does not come with significant implementation hurdles. Some key points to note include the following. Information transfer is in one direction only, that being from the acquisition device edge software to the waters_connect Cloud. The information being sent to the waters_connect Cloud is system telemetry information rather than JXP analytical data. Users cannot interact with or change Empower from the waters_connect Cloud and associated applications. System monitoring is running outside of the so-called compliance envelope. On this last point, Waters has confirmed that the installation of the Edge software, which supports the cloud connection, does not affect the operation of the acquisition device software. However, this is ultimately a customized decision, and historical proof such as by running Empower verify files before and after installation can be documented. We know that a lot of you are planning to upgrade your mPower deployments soon. mPower upgrades represent a perfect opportunity to introduce system monitoring as you are updating your acquisition devices. As mentioned, the addition of the Edge device software to acquisition devices is a very light installation, which typically takes about 10 to 15 minutes. Additionally, the installer supports silent installation to facilitate rollout across multiple acquisition devices easily. With the imminent release of mPower 3.8, which supports advanced workflows for Alliance iS systems and many other benefits, this is a great opportunity to increase the overall intelligence and connectivity of your lab in the near future. We've talked a lot about the current functionality available within system monitoring and the device management application. In the next few slides, we want to describe the process and frequency by which we iterate the capabilities and provide a glimpse into what is coming next. Obviously, we've discussed that WatersConnect System Monitoring is a cloud-based product available on a software as a service subscription. You can see the Cloud Hub here, including the system monitoring application. As a cloud product, we are committed to continual product enhancement based upon your feedback, and we have the agility and the platform to work towards your priorities quickly. We are currently updating the cloud side software, such as features for system monitoring and device management, on a monthly basis. We provide notice of the upcoming monthly update schedule, so users are aware of when new features will be added, and the What's New information describes the details of the changes. The applications are designed to be very light and intuitive, so the regular enhancements require self-familiarization rather than training. Ever since we launched system monitoring for mPower users in January 2023, we've been able to add significant enhancements based upon your feedback. So this roadmap covers system monitoring and partner applications, inclusive of the first 6 months since product launch and moving into Q3 2023. As I mentioned, the monthly release schedule has allowed us to incrementally add features to the cloud applications. Some of the key features since January include the email notifications feature and the additional system history views I've shown in the previous slides. We're very excited about our Q3 plans, which you can see here. As a summary, we will incorporate a system schedule view to allow reservations for different use cases, single sign-on support to provide easier access for users, additional enhancements including usability features for administrators, details of acquisition device installed software, and further extensions to system history features. One thing we're very excited about based upon your feedback is the addition of a system schedule functionality within system monitoring. This is coming in Q3, so please look out for more details, and for existing customers, expect to see this very soon. Obviously, we talked about lab planning and coordination, and this feature is a natural extension of what is currently available in system monitoring in this respect. We also referenced the increased pace to lab digitization, and some of the challenges you have described to us relating to scheduling involve very manual and non-dynamic solutions. I'm sure there are people in the audience who have reserved systems with post-it notes or via a central whiteboard in the lab. Even more automated digital solutions have limitations though, as they have to be consistently used by all users and can lack integration with the actual statuses of the instrument in question. So this new functionality will allow users to reserve systems for multiple reasons: regular sample runs, calibration, maintenance, etc. Analysts, lab managers, and metrologists with the permissions to view specific systems will be able to create reservations as needed by searching for appropriate systems for their analyses. As I mentioned, there will be more information to follow on system scheduling, but we're very hopeful that this can really help to overcome significant inefficiencies in your day-to-day lab activities. On that note, I'll pass back to Kate to summarise.
So as John said, I'm going to quickly summarise what's being covered in today's webinar. We started by looking at how the push for increasing efficiency is the main driver of Lab of the Future, and a key component to achieving increased efficiency is connecting your lab to digital tools that support digitisation. We've been hearing from our relationships with customers that increasing efficiency and productivity with the goal of getting product to market faster without compromising quality and safety is really important, and this was our goal when developing WatersConnect system monitoring. System monitoring gives you a holistic view of your lab, allowing you to see all your mPower controlled chromatography systems in one dashboard at any time from anywhere, allowing you to plan and schedule activities and more easily monitor the day-to-day operations of the lab. The software delivers instant notifications when the status of a system changes, including when in error state, so that you can respond to errors much more quickly to reduce instrument downtime and the need for reruns. As the software is hosted in the cloud, you've got instant access to the latest software developments and security features, one of which is system scheduling, which is very newly released and allows you to schedule systems for sample analysis, calibration, maintenance, etc. In summary, the WatersConnect system monitoring software allows you to really maximize the efficiency and productivity of your lab without having to physically be there. Thank you for listening to today's webinar. We're now going to move to the Q&A portion of the session. John and I are joined by Chris, Steve and Scott to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, thank you, Waters team, for that informative presentation. So before we get started on the question and answer session, I would just like to quickly remind our audience how to submit questions. You can submit your questions by typing them in the Q&A box, which can be found directly below the video player. If we're all good to go, our first question of the day, I'll throw it at you. Is there a plan to incorporate Waters MS systems into system monitoring?
Yeah, thanks, Bob. So yeah, I'll take that. And it's a really good question, and it's one thing that we've been discussing a lot with our early customers. So obviously, we recognize that a lot of you are using a combination of chromatography systems and mass spectrometry systems to develop and release your products. So it's a key initiative for us to enable a consolidated view of all your Waters analytical devices within system monitoring. So we have started off with mPower, but it's absolutely part of our plan and our roadmap to incorporate additional mass spectrometers within that system monitoring view, such that you are able to see mPower controlled chromatography systems alongside tandem quad mass spectrometers or high resolution mass spectrometers. So yeah, it's a great question. It's one thing that comes up a lot, but it's a core part of our strategy and our goal to make sure that we're supporting your overall needs as you develop and release products.
Fantastic. And a bit of a follow-up here. Does system monitoring support only Waters instruments?
Yeah, so we did touch on that a little bit within the presentation. I'm actually going to pass that one on to Steve. So Steve Cubbage.
Hi, thanks. That's a great question. The answer is yes. Really, any system that is connected to mPower, including any of the third-party systems that are supported by mPower, those are also appear as systems within system monitoring, and we have the ability to report status on those in terms of running sample sets that are done, etc. So yes, they are supported. Perhaps you can say to a little bit less fidelity than Waters instruments from the perspective of being able to detect, let's say, detailed alarms and that type of thing, but very well supported. And a lot of our customers have deployed system monitoring with those third-party systems already and are really reaping a lot of benefits from that.
Fantastic. Another question from the audience here. Does the scheduling tool allow reservation for non-Waters mPower controlled systems?
Yeah, so it's a similar question, isn't it? And I think I introduced within the slide deck the fact that we're very excited about what's coming very soon. We anticipate we are releasing this product, this additional feature within the July timeframe, actually. So nearer than we thought, and we're very excited about that. Scott is the expert around the system scheduling functionality, and I'm going to pass that over to Scott to answer that question.
Yeah, thanks, John. So any system that can be onboarded onto system monitoring will have a schedule that is accessible through the details page for that particular system. You would just be able to click on the system's tile. It would bring you to the system's detail page, and across the top, you'll see a scheduling tab and where you can look at the system schedule itself and then make reservations accordingly.
Great. And always a prevalent question these days, how do you handle cybersecurity?
Hi, thanks, Bob. So cybersecurity is handled at every phase of our software development lifecycle. We have a cybersecurity team that defines our secure software development lifecycle process, our security requirements, and oversees our engineering. That team is also using a number of internal tools to monitor our full software stack for vulnerabilities, CVEs. They risk assess those vulnerabilities, triage them, and we patch them as required. In addition, we have a separate SecOps team that permanently monitors all of our production cloud environments using a number of tools and technologies that work across the various levels of the system. And finally, we also have training for our secure engineering best practices, and this is provided to every team. So secure engineering best practices are built in from the ground up for all of our applications and services.
Always great to know that you have that cybersecurity built in and you're safe when using the product. So next question here, I'm planning to do an Empower upgrade to 3.8. Does it make sense to do these together, or should I wait until my upgrade is complete? Can you walk me through that?
Yeah, so I'll maybe just start off and talk about this at a very high level. And I think, again, we mentioned this within the presentation, and it is very timely with the imminent release of Empower 3.8, which we're very excited about, alongside Alliance IS to support enhanced workflows and intelligence for Alliance IS, amongst some other features, obviously. So I think it's a great question, actually, and one thing we're very keen to highlight is this is the perfect opportunity when you are considering an upgrade to your Empower deployment to look at system monitoring, the additional value it can add around your Empower ecosystem as a business tool. So it's a really good opportunity to effectively combine those activities to get the most value of the new functionality and features within Empower, but also augment that with what we've been describing today with respect to system monitoring. I'll maybe pass over to Steve, who may have some additional comments around this. So I'll hand over to you now, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, John. Yeah, so I think, as you're thinking about doing your Empower upgrades, certainly there's a whole process and set of services that go into that. And one of the most common elements of that is the idea of building a LACE image. It's a golden image that is used, and the Edge software can actually be installed on that LACE and what we call not onboarded. So it can be activated then at any time in the future that you would want to onboard it and use system monitoring. So certainly that's something that can be considered as part of it to do it, and it's a natural time to do it. When you're doing that upgrade, when you're building those images for doing the upgrade, is certainly a good time to even consider system monitoring. And it's something that can be incorporated as part of that process pretty easily in a straightforward way.
Sounds great. Next question here from the audience. The audience asks, how can automation help in routine HPLC analysis?
Okay, so I think I'll take this one. For us, with respect to what we've been describing today around digital and connected tools to really augment sort of semi-manual routine workflows, I think it's all about closing down some of the inefficiency gaps that we've talked about. So the ability to efficiently schedule your analyses, the ability to, in an automated fashion, respond to dynamic shifts within a weekly environment as you are working in a very fast-paced and busy multi-system environment. It can be challenging without automation and without connected digital tools to make sure that you are operating as efficiently as possible. So the dynamic scheduling that we're talking about, the ability to quickly identify systems which are available, and as I mentioned, respond to issues with remedial action. I think that's the key thing really, is to ensure that as technology is advancing and we are leveraging that technology, we're looking at the key points of pain within your day-to-day analysis and closing down those inefficiency gaps.
Great. And on the support side of things, does Waters Connect offer lifetime updates, or how does updating work?
Yeah, so we do, as I mentioned, update the cloud side software on a monthly basis. So we've been working obviously clearly with you guys as early customers, advocates, and beta customers to define what the priorities should be for system monitoring, and we're responding to those needs and those requests, which continue to evolve on a monthly basis. So when you subscribe to Waters Connect system monitoring, you typically would do that on an annual or 3-yearly basis. And as you have done so, as you have effectively subscribed for that length of time, you will be receiving the updates as part of that subscription over the course of that period of time. So in effect, it's a contract with us, with an awareness that we are very committed to continue to deliver incremental monthly features. So you saw the roadmap that we laid out and how much we've actually been able to achieve within the first 6 months, which we're very excited about. But signing up to the product for 1 year or 3 years, you will see those features continually added over the course of that period of time.
Great. One of the attendees is asking as well, can you speak to, is there any progress on reporting tools of the SSD to maybe export data to present to management? Can you speak to that at all?
Would you like me to take that one, John?
Yeah, you can take that one, Steve. Yeah.
All right. We've actually been focusing more on enriching the historical information that we're capturing and presenting right now. We've been working towards that so that we have, let's say, a more complete history of the behavior that is there. And I would say that's probably going to be most of our focus in the next 2 quarters, more than anything, building that so that we can do it. And then certainly we'll be looking at ways to share that information, to and ways to view and sort through and display that kind of information that is there, to give an indication of, let's say, the utilization of systems within the lab, and to be able to plot them. So that's certainly within our longer term vision. But right now, we're not exporting it, but we are really working actively to enhance that history to make it more complete.
Great. One of our audience members asked, I know you might have touched on this in the presentation, can you repeat the part regarding data, regarding the GXP data?
Yes, so I think if I understand the question which has come in, we described the fact that system monitoring is presenting operational system telemetry data. So effectively, it's representing information about the system as it is acquiring data. It is not presenting or taking in data which is typically regulated GXP data. So we're not in any way sending up regulated data up to system monitoring. We have a one-directional flow of information, but that is system and operational telemetry data.
Yeah, I think the other way to think about it is system monitoring is an operational tool. It's helping labs run more effectively, use their resources more effectively. They're not making regulatory decisions or decisions on regulatory data as a result of what is there being passed up from the Edge software. And really what we've spent our time doing is making sure that the Edge software, which is residing on the acquisition box, doesn't in any way impact the validated state or the behavior of that box. And as John said in the presentation, really, you can look at verify files as a way of looking at that independently. depends on how customers want to look at it. You know, one of the things we've done internally is done things like run the system qualification on a lace box before installing the Edge software, install the Edge software on there, run the system qualification again, and we show that you get exactly the same results, you know, down to the amount of time it takes to process, and we've measured impact. So we've really gone to great pains to ensure that there is no impact, you know, even with the footprint of software that we put onto what you would call validated aspects of the system that's there.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much to the whole Waters team. With that, we will wrap up today's presentation. I just want to thank the audience for attending and for participating in today's event. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, Waters, for making today's webcast possible. We would like to ask everyone in the audience to participate in a brief survey. This survey will appear on your screen after today's presentation has ended. You'll also receive an email alerting you when this webcast will be available for replay. We invite you to forward that announcement to your colleagues who may have missed today's live event. So we hope to see you all next time, and goodbye.